All right, folks, here we are for another session of Off the Grid. I wanted to welcome my next guest. He is an ill MC who owns a nice catalog of very introspective raps and just full of thought-provoking lyrics. He's based out of the East Coast. Hey, welcome to my man Bayani. Thank you for doing the session with me.
You know the tribe. What's good, Memphis?
Hey, I'm good, man. Hey, so let's start before we go into your catalog. Let's start with just your background, where you were born, where in New York you exactly call home, and how long you've been making music.
Wavy. My name is Mark Teodosio, writer and creator of the comic book The Realest Bayani, also known as Bayani as a music artist. I've gone through many phases. Born in Brooklyn, New York, Sunset Park, and not where they shot the movie with Fredro Starr. You know what I'm saying? Sunset Park. What time
Yeah,
is it?
it. It's
You
time to
know, it's
get
time to
live.
get
It's time to
live.
represent. Yep.
Yeah. Now currently, a Staten Island, transplant from Brooklyn. Um,
Okay.
well, actually not currently, but I've been here long enough to consider myself a native.
Okay.
I've been adopted by, the community, the artist community out here since 1999. Been grinding the scene since 2008.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's totally a native out here now. Shaolin representative.
Yeah. Hey, were your parents born in New York, or were they born in the Philippines and then
My
migrated
parents was
over?
born chewing grass on top of a carabao.
Oh shit! All right,
My
pass it back
son.
home.
Yeah,
Okay, then they came over. Hey, so
yeah.
now I'd be interested to hear who your musical influences were. What kind of music were your parents bumping back in the day?
My parents was bumping really, really cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? I would say Diana Ross was one of
Mm.
them. Michael Jackson. Um, Definitely Jackson 5 and Christmas. You know what I'm saying? We was bumping that
Yeah,
joint.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
my mom
you,
had a lot of classics. She was playing a lot of, you know, um, OPH music.
okay.
You know, so that was OPM. I'm sorry, original Philippine music.
Oh,
So they were bumping some of that stuff as well. Bee Gees,
yeah.
Beach Boys, Beatles,
Yeah.
all of the bees that led me to Bayani.
Hey, and so then when did that introduction to rap happen? Was it in elementary, middle, or high school?
I would say elementary, fifth grade.
Okay.
I remember a Christmas party. I had bought the Wu Tang Protect Your Neck single. It was a
Nice.
white cover with the W on the gospel,
Yep.
on the scriptures, manuscripts, the Wu Tang manuscripts. And I played it, and they were like, "Yo, play that back." And we would flip to the other side, play METHOD, man. You know what I'm saying? So I would say, like, yeah, like the fifth grade, fourth grade was like the Chronic. I was listening to the Chronic, and Onyx was one of those influences too. You know what I'm saying? Attack to the ball heads. I remember I did a show and somebody said I reminded them of that energy when I was like starting
Yeah,
off
I can see
in
that.
that raw underground circuit.
Yeah, that's dope. Hey man, so were your parents were they pretty supportive of you listening to hip hop? I remember like, man, it's probably not a good start, but I had asked my mom to buy me like a Two Live Crew tape, and she was not she was not into it. But I mean, how were your parents? How did they receive that when you had transitioned to just listening to hip hop outside of what they were listening to?
Like I feel like they would never really judgmental of the
Yeah.
music. I mean, they would hear the curses and be like, Mikey, lower that down. But like aside from that, it kept me quiet in the back seat. You would just hear
Okay.
that rewind button. If I didn't like too much of side B and I prefer side A,
Yeah.
it kept me quiet in the back seat from when we would go from Brooklyn to Woodside, Queens or Hillside.
Okay.
So it was that movement between my mother's friends, family, and that's how we was building up a lot. So like a lot of the Filipino culture was mixed in with my rides of listening to hip hop on the way over.
Yeah.
So and they really just they endorsed me choosing music, stuff that would Americanize me.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good point, man. That's a good point because your parents, they probably was Tagalog limited in your household? I know it was in mine. I mean, they still spoke to me, but I think yeah, they wanted us to, just be able to assimilate, right? Is that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They really
kind of
spoke
stuff?
English to me, but I understood. I started to learn Tagalog
Yeah,
through through context. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So when my mom
that's
was
right.
like, "Bastos sa marke, malaki ang botot ang Albert," and I'm like, "What the what?" I'm like, "What does that mean?" And then I started putting it together. I was like, "Dad's the what the what?" Like every time something would a plate would crash in the kitchen, she'd be like, "Malaki ang botot si Albert." And I'm like, "What?" So I was like,
Dude,
"What?"
that is probably one of the best explanations I've heard in how someone learned Tagalog. Right, you had to understand like the context of what they were saying, and so it would not that it was directly taught, but because you heard it and you were immersed. That's a good explanation. So with that, do you recall the first hip hop or rap tape that you purchased growing up?
It was definitely Juicy, the single Juicy.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, that was like my first purchase. Like I was like, yeah, I want that. And then I started really. I think it was in Sam Goody. I think I went to Sam Goody at the time.
Yeah. I Sam
Um,
Goody.
yeah, it
Rest
was
in
either Sam
peace.
Goody because we would go to like this outlet called Woodbury Commons, and that's where we would get all the Nautica, Polo, Tommy Hilfiger clothes,
Yeah,
the
the
outlet,
gear.
So
That's funny.
and they have a Sam Goody there. But also in my old neighborhood in Sunset, my cousin used to walk me out because the first song I encountered, right, where I really bopped was Ice Cube. Um,
Oh, nice.
Today was a good day.
Yeah.
And that played on the block party, and I heard it. It was just such a chill vibe, and we're in Brooklyn, so like
Yeah.
at that time, West Coast music was really bumping. Like it was you couldn't really tell the difference, like because hip hop was
Ah.
so like the '90s was kind of like you seen Tupac, you seen Nas, you seen Ill Out Scratch, and like you
Yeah.
would hear these like different artists, and to differentiate them, you had to really start learning, the culture. And I think Biggie and Tupac really set that tone for the
Okay.
differences between the coasts. I mean, the samples and all that stuff, like you could tell
Yeah.
like who became West Coast and what was East Coast at some point, because you could tell the sample styles, the drum styles,
That's right.
yeah. So yeah, I think Biggie really like set a tone for me because like he showed that you could still be fly and still be hardcore at the same time.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did. And that's that. Yeah, you are not short of amazing musicians out in New York, man. So that's dope. A great perspective too, man. Just the music almost sounded similar, but you really have to study it to figure out who was from the west and to the east, and then
Especially
you
when it came to
understood
hip
like the
hop, hip hop.
beats.
Like
Yeah,
when you
that's
heard
great.
Tribe Called Quest, and then you know, um, you heard like let's say '93 to Infinity, Souls of Mischief.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
couldn't really tell Souls of Mischief was from the West Coast.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying like they sounded
Dude.
like similar strains of like musical palette.
Yeah, yeah, that was definitely out of the norm, man. And so, yeah, that's a great point, man. I enjoy that perspective too. Nice, man. Well, hey, what were some of the key albums for you growing up, man? It's pretty hard to say your favorite, but some standout albums that were influential in you becoming who you are today.
Musically, I would say and this is stuff that made me want to write, like not just stuff
Okay.
that I listened to, but stuff that made me write. I was really listening to a lot of like the Wu-Tang, kind of like drops from 36 Chambers,
Yeah.
Iron Man, Only Built for Cuban Links. Like these albums really made me like want to write rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Yeah.
Listening to stuff like Killer Priest or Killer
Yeah.
Army, which was weird that I transitioned to Staten Island while growing up because I started to come up in that artist scene. And so I would meet people that were, in that same rise with Wu-Tang that
Yeah.
were not Wu-Tang. You know
Ah.
what I'm saying? So you would hear the stories of like what it was like in those times and that in the turbulence of Wu-Tang's, rise.
Yeah.
Um, I would say a lot of Queens Mob Deep with
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Nas, that Queens like energy was just amazing for me, like Prodigy and Nas, and then seeing how, they intermingled with, the Staten Island side. It was such like a cool like alliance. But then you noticed how Brooklyn wasn't really making music with Queens like that. Well, as far as like the top tiers, like Biggie wasn't on records with Nas or
Okay.
Jay. And
Yep.
I was like, yo, what's up with that? Like, and me being a Brooklyn cat, I'd be like, nah, I like Jay-Z, but
Yeah.
Nas
Yeah.
is my main influence, you know? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I would go to something like It Was Written would be more influential to me as a writer
Yep.
than Illmatic. You know what I'm saying? Because there was like two records I love from Illmatic, which is The World Is Yours and One Love. But when you
Okay.
go to It Was Written, I have way more favorites on
Yeah.
that album versus Illmatic.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot of Nas fans may not agree, but we
Yeah.
different. You know what I'm saying? We all have different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be It Was Written, 36 Chambers,
Okay.
and I would say like a third one would be The Chronic. Like if I
Okay.
listen to albums like that.
All right. I was gonna. I was gonna say, hey, you got to name a West Coast album, so I'm glad.
Yeah.
Hey,
True
no,
story.
man.
West Coast was what I always wanted a White Sox hat. Every time I watched it was nothing but a G thing, nothing but a G thing came on. I wanted a White Sox hat.
That's right, man. Very influential, man. Well, hey, outside of rap, what kind of music do you listen to nowadays, man? Anything outside of rap, or just purely rap?
Right now, outside of rap, I would say I listen to like a lot of like lo-fi
Yep.
type producers and stuff like
Okay.
that. I really listen to instrumentals because I write comic books. You know, like what
Yep.
helps me write is these lo-fi channels.
Nice.
There's one called World Building that I would write like Dungeons and Dragons quests to. So I was like dungeon mastering
Nice.
for homies for a little period of time, just to keep my writing skills like sharp. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And
awesome,
just
man.
diving into other universes and genres of the nerd culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so favorite producers, man. So lo-fi beats, and I could tell a lot of some of the, and I'm gonna talk about this later on too. Some of the songs that you did over, some of the Wu Tang beats, but favorite producers, man, a lot over there, man. Who are your, man? I don't want to say top three, but just some all-time favorites.
All time favorites. I mean, I would have to say Havoc, RZA,
Ooh,
Dilla. You know,
yeah,
those three really. And if I just say Dilla, I would say like the Uma. You know, like that production team. You
yeah,
know, overall, they definitely influenced a lot of my stuff. But like
okay,
if I was to say people I want to produce my album, I would
yeah, okay,
probably say like I would probably say uh I would say Harry Fraud just because
okay,
of the music he makes with French Montana. You know what I'm
yep,
saying? I love the music they make together with some of the Mac and Cheese albums. The Alchemist, I would
yep.
want on the album, and I know this is a off one, but Flying Lotus. Like I'm definitely
Oh
a Flying
yeah,
Lotus fan. Um,
yeah. I like your
so
diversity, your diverse taste in hip hop, man. It's good, man. And I noticed that in a lot of things that you do, man. So you definitely like reference the whole spectrum, right, from west to east, man. I love that.
yeah, and also from like mainstream to backpack to like pure hip hop. Like
Yeah. Hey, man. What about? Let's go into one of my favorite questions I like to ask, man. How did you come up with Bayani as your MC name? What's the backstory and how you chose it and how it came about?
so Bayani is like my final form right now. You know what I'm saying? I've gone through like three forms. I went from Omen Child. That was my
Oh,
first MC name, Omen, with an I. And it was so strange because my mother's name is Domingo. Um, so her they would call her at the Omen. So it was just
got
crazy
it.
that I took that name and spelled it with an I. Like that bugged out my mom's at some point. She'd be like, Omen child, time to eat. So like it came out at that point. I
She's
was like
great.
only child for like my youth, and then I
Okay.
matured at some point to where I went out into the music scene and became
Yeah.
Mark Marvel. Um,
Oh, that I like that. That's cool. How did that name
so
come about?
I wanted to use my real name plus like me being transitioning from Brooklyn to Staten Island. I
Yeah.
was like, yo, like I want to do something in tradition to the gods out here, the OGs,
Yeah.
So like Meth took Johnny Blaze, Ghost took Tony Starks. I took
Yep.
I said I couldn't even be one. Like I felt like Onslaught at some point. And I was like, nah, I'm everything at once. Like I felt like Silver Surfer in outside the world, just reflecting the whole universe. I was like, nah, I'm
Yeah.
Mark Marvel.
I
And
like
at
that
that
name.
point, it was wild because there wasn't a lot of nerdcore rappers that were
Yeah.
spitting from the same grain as me. Like I came from a grain that was like real, like you had to have some type of credibility and respect in the streets,
Yep.
and also have some originality.
It's a
So
good mix.
me becoming Mark Marvel, it was a way of using all the pop culture references from anime to comic books to 90s cartoons,
Yep.
and video games and shit, and molding it into an MC style.
I
Not a
like
lot
it.
of people was referencing it. I can say that because I was on the map. I was cerebroing open mics and showcases and wasn't
Yeah.
nobody doing it. So, after
Yeah.
I
It's
became Mark
interesting.
Marvel, I sensed like I was starting to marinate like in this New York artist scene, in the underground scene.
I like
And
it.
you develop, people that fuck with you and people that don't. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
once you're doing that, once you start developing that dynamic of people that don't, what I'm saying, that hate, and then the people that show love. Once you develop that, you know that you've reached the point of your
That's
artistry.
right.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right too, man. When you start to see a level of hate of some sort, that hey, where
or
you
critique
were
where people
you
can't say something.
yeah, you're in a
I hate saying that it's hate. It's just almost like egotistic to say, "Oh, they hating." It's like,
no,
nah,
I know.
they care to say something.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but I feel like it's like you're moving in the right direction, right? So
Right. And
so
then
hey,
yeah,
hey,
that
yeah.
led to Bayani. All the comic booky type references, artwork, it all led to me creating my own comic book and pivoting my
Okay.
writing skills into creating a comic book universe. You
All
know what I
right. So
mean?
for the folks that don't know what Bayani means, it means what?
It means a person who sacrifices for their country. You
Yeah,
know,
and it's the Tagalog word for hero, right? I think.
yeah, it could be translated as so.
Okay.
Because a lot of
Cool.
Tagalog words are more conceptual than they are definitive. You know what I mean?
Well said. All right. Hey, what was the exact moment that where you decided I was gonna start writing raps, man? What was like the I'm gonna put the pen to the paper, man, and I want to do this. Do you recall that exact moment?
Yeah, yeah. My best friend Shoe Rap, Shoe Rizzy Rap. I used to live in Brooklyn, Central Park, on 51st Street. And he used to come right down the block, knock on the window, and be like, "Yo, you ready to rap, bro?" And I had the karaoke machine. I had the
I love it,
karaoke machine. I had with my homies chilling in the hood with my homies up to no good. We had that instrumental, and we started writing on that particular record first.
man.
Um, and right there, that's when I knew I wanted to keep exploring my vocabulary,
Okay.
like skills, as well as my ability to rock mics. and
Okay.
and at that age, you're not even at open mics. You're too young for it. So we were writing line for lines, like bar. We was like uh, a Spanish and Filipino Styles P and Jada. So we would go bar for bar on blocks, and people would be like, "Yo, these are the kids I was
Nice.
talking about." And we would go there like, "Yo, um, I
Oh,
strike the
that's
earth in
cool,
the
man.
form of lightning." You know what I'm saying? And I would start like rap, like
That's cool.
underground, real hard bars, like, and we would
Yeah.
body kids on their blocks. We would go block to block like that. No, you didn't know who he was battling. It was all just like, "Yo, come through with your best verses." You know?
That's cool. Yeah. Oh man, and so and that leads me to my next question, man. Were there challenges with you becoming an MC? As a Filipino, was the community quite embracing, or just you just had to earn what you got through battling or songwriting? What was that experience for you like?
in the beginning, I felt like being Filipino wasn't as, you know, wasn't as obvious of an element for me. Like, yeah, the aesthetic of it makes it kind of
Yeah.
ambiguous, like culturally ambiguous. They wouldn't know if I was half black and Asian, if I was
Ah.
Puerto Rican, if I was
Yeah.
Mexican. They couldn't tell because I'm just brown and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
bald.
Yeah.
So you don't even know if I have curly hair, if my hair
Right.
is
Right.
straight coconut hairstyle. You couldn't
Uh,
tell when I hit the scene. I was already bald by like 26. You know what I'm saying? So by the time I was out there, it was like, oh wow, like, does he have bars or not? And they loved it. They
yeah.
were they were fucking with the style. They were seeing that I was growing, developing my stage presence. So yeah, so being Filipino on the open mic showcase scene in New York, it didn't really create so much of like a negative presence or a negative feedback. Like a lot
Okay.
of people might have thought it was just different, but they
Yeah.
still couldn't pinpoint it. Pacquiao was just knocking heads at that time. That was the only
Nice.
Filipino they knew, you know. So
Yeah.
with me, like I started to really tap in with Filipinos on the MC scene,
Okay.
in the Philippines, like real Pinoy rappers.
Anybody in particular?
I met Mike Swift in 2008. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and he introduced me to a director, Markat and Seha,
Okay.
for Noisemaker Media. And he
Okay.
shot my first music video. So Mike
Sweet.
Swift really opened doors like with my network, and also with the quality of my music craft, like the way my visuals came out. There wasn't a lot of underground MCs with great music videos like that, quality music videos.
Okay.
Um, so and Noisemaker Media was shooting for Homeboy Sandman, Hassan Salam, Mortal
Yeah.
Technique, Eternia from Canada. He was shooting for a lot of dope MCs at that time.
Sweet.
So that was like Grain, really, like where I actually debuted was around the time of those artists.
Okay. Oh man, super super cool, man. And so, what about just in the New York scene? Are there a lot of Filipino rappers? Are they mostly DJs? Or what was the
Um,
Filipino
New
community
York
like?
scene has Filipino rappers, but I feel like I was saying, like being Filipino wasn't necessary for those ciphers. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying? So it's not like we had a lot of people to relate the culture to
Yeah.
at that
Yep.
time, you know? So like it only became relevant for me more when I was teaching Bayani or explaining Bayani to people. So
Okay.
I began to dive in around maybe like 2018, like where
Yeah.
I started to really give references to being Filipino. I never really felt the need to,
Yeah.
when I was coming up,
Oh,
but it,
that's
it only
great.
became more evident and more, necessary when I started relating the culture through the music.
I gotcha. Awesome, man. And so, and I think that's important too, right? So I think when I first came on, I didn't, I just wanted to again assimilate into the culture. But as we get older, very important to share a story. And so nowadays, man, hey, you got well developed taste in hip hop and rap. And so, what are you listening to these days, man? Who are some of these up and coming cats that you're really enjoying?
So recently, I think like listening to like artists nowadays, I can't even listen to any full bodies of work. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like there's no full bodies of work that has really like drawn me in to
Okay.
like really listen. The only person that really like kept me in tune was Nas. Like the
Ah.
fact that he was dropping at the frequency that he was dropping recently, like in the last 3 to 5 years, it's
Okay.
like what? Like I remember Jay saying some slick shit in Takeover about
Yeah.
the album frequency, and then just when you thought he was about to be off the scene, like he
Oh, good
started
point.
dropping, King's Disease.
Yeah.
He started dropping the Lost Tapes Part Two. Then he
Yeah.
dropped what was the joint with Hit Boy? The album. It was King's Disease.
He did one, two, and three, right? I think, but
Yeah, King's Disease 1, 2, and 3, and there was another series album.
okay.
I forgot the name of it. I really
I
want new artists to tap me in, you
yeah.
know. But I just
No.
recently listened to my homie Mikey V's album, which came out really fire. He's from the Bay Area.
Okay.
And that's just giving him a little plug. But I really listened to his album and the engineering, the production. He went into production. It's just great to see artists evolve like that and tap in. You know.
Yeah, no, I like that some of my favorites are still doing music, man. And so when they can still be relevant and for me to want to still listen to them, I think that's really dope. And so I think Nas is definitely one of those cats who are doing it. And a lot of underground MCs are making a comeback, which I really enjoy too as well. I think the problem is like just so much music too, man. And you got to really look for what you want to listen to, man. It's tough these days, right? So much music going on. But
Yeah.
how is the hip hop scene in your neck of the woods these days, man? I know New York is always live and thriving, man. How are you enjoying it, man?
Right now, I think let's say particularly for myself, um, I've been tapping into more nonprofit organizations.
Okay,
And I find it so interesting to see that nonprofits really appreciate artists that represent a dynamic of principles as well as culture and community, you
okay,
know. And they really respect it enough to pay you to be a speaker or a panelist, you know what I'm
nice.
saying? A moderator, a curator of the culture, and someone that's able to put together events and they pay you for it. Apart from art promoters who ask you to sell a minimal of amount of tickets, you know what I'm saying, and give you less than what you deserve from that percentage of sales for tickets, you know, because you're basically doing the promoter's job if you're selling the tickets, right?
Oh yeah, exactly, man.
And this is no, you know, no argument with promoters and the way they need to make money, but does it make sense for me to sell 10 tickets or whatever amount of tickets versus getting paid to show up for an event for 5 minutes and be paid 5 times more than I get paid for an actual showcase, you
Right,
know? And so this is what I've learned as an artist with experience, with, you know, with the veteran, you know, kind of relationships to be like, yo, how do I monetize the culture and my skills, you know, my MC abilities, you know, all the years that I put in, I feel like I deserve to get paid for it, right?
yeah,
That entitlement doesn't mean you're gonna get paid
that's true.
unless you're really involved in the community.
Yeah,
That's when you start meeting the nonprofits. So that's why becoming Bayani really changed my entire platform and,
sure.
you know, why I do it.
But I love it though, man. You're immersed, and I see that you're out there doing shows, man. And I love it. The messaging is great through your songs. And so, before we go into some of your more recent stuff, let's take it back for a moment. And do you recall the first album that you recorded? How long ago was that first album you recorded?
Whoa,
And what was that experience like?
the first album I recorded was called The World Will Change. And at that time I was Omen Child. So like it was like a red cover with like a it looks like, you know, what if the airbender was from New York? He kind of it's just a silhouette though. Like you could just tell he got a varsity jacket,
I
some
like it.
baggy jeans, and on his shadow is the cross. It was the cover of the Omen movie.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like my ode to where that horror film, you know, to that New York, you
Yeah.
know, hardcore hip hop shit. So that was like 2008 and finished it in 2010.
Wow.
You
Okay.
know, I might have been recording it somewhere around that time, and it's on Bandcamp. So if
Oh,
someone
nice.
out there jumps into this interview, you could go to Bandcamp, look up
Yeah.
"Oh Child, the World Will Change," and it'll
Wow.
pop up. Probably horrible engineering. You know what I'm saying?
It's the first
Uh,
album, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
At that time, you know, a lot of people were just learning Pro Tools and, you
Yeah.
know, all of its capabilities. Um, that was like the first era of do it yourself, kind of like, you know, of my era,
Yeah.
creatives.
Yeah. And it
So
was still got to be a a proud moment. There's always a it's a big deal, man, when you finish your first album and then you put it together. And so I always like going back to the first album. I couldn't find it, but now I know where to find it. And so I'm gonna go
I
back
should
and
have told you
listen
before. I should have
to
sent
it.
you Omi
Yeah.
Child, Marvel Bayani.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
went through the playlist, just an amazing list of music, man. And so I want to talk about this series of singles that you do over the well-known beats, right? A lot of the Wu-Tang, Big Papa beats. And so what was your idea behind creating songs over those beats? I had a similar idea, but I want to hear like what was the reasoning behind you choosing those beats?
Around the time that we had went through the pandemic, DJs were going live. So I tapped into the big homie Butch Rock, DJ Butch Rock.
Okay.
And DJ Butch Rock is the DJ for CNN. He's a Filipino cat. And
Okay.
he's connected to my cousin Mickey, uh, who's he also goes by Queen's Finest. He's the
Okay.
founder of that clothing brand from Woodside, Queens. And
Nice.
Butch Rock had linked me to a whole community of DJs because he has such a really reputable, kind of name. I mean, he was DJing for CNN, Noriega's Drink Champs. Know what I mean, like
Oh
you
man.
can't get any more like hip hop than how they're narrating the culture right now. Uh,
Yeah.
and bringing legends back. So it connected me to a cat named DJ Drop.
Okay.
And DJ Drop is the DJ on that We Owe No One Nothing mixtape. You'll
Oh,
hear me referencing Drop. You'll hear all the scratches is all him. All the beats and how he chopped it up is all him.
nice.
And I just was recording in the studio in Real Job Studio out here in Staten Island. And so the selection of the beats was really me. Those were like the beat tapes that I had at home.
Yeah.
So like
Oh,
these
okay.
were songs that I actually was like, yo, I wanna body it now. Like what
Yeah.
would I sound like now over these beats? And so
Yeah.
he sent me all that just because it was like he's one of those, he's one of those artists that, come from that same unreplicated era
Yeah.
of, the late 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that, man. It's I'm a big fan of the mixtapes, and I always love hearing rappers over different beats. And Funkmaster Flex used to do it all the time, and so that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And a couple that I really chose, or that I chose that I really liked, was the Bayani Papa, which I thought was a very nice tribute to the ladies. It was good. The scratching was dope, so that
Yeah.
was one of my
Oh,
favorites.
yeah, word. I love the scratches on that one.
Yeah, and so just the lyrics, man, it was definitely, man, it was deep and insightful, and I love it, man. And then the shook flip, right, was dope.
Oh, Shook. Right, right. Produced by Alexander Roy.
Yep.
That was on the Be Your Own Hero EP.
Yeah, I don't need stress or any drama. All I need is a real one to realign my karma, man. Just
Right, right.
again, man, very good. I love your writing skills, man. They're good and clear. And
Thanks.
so, yeah, and it was good, man. I enjoyed that kind of that. It took me back to that mixtape era. And then my favorite one of all time was Liquid Hero. It's that Woo Special Sesame Chicken and Fried Rice. I'm that quiet storm soldier that fight rhymes by Yanni, man. That was sick, man.
Right,
And
right.
then
That's
you have a
peace.
little video of it floating around too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My boy Rebel had shot that video for me. He was just doing a freestyle series
Yep.
in one of my boys' studios, Agent Blur's studio,
Okay.
and back of the bus. And yeah, he said, "Come up." He was like, "Let's do this Liquid Swords joint."
Okay.
And yeah, just in tribute and ode to the island. And
Yeah.
Jizzle was also a Brooklyn MC that transitioned between Staten Island and Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah. So good, man. I love that. And one day I'll get around to doing it. But hey, I love that you got a catalog of tracks that, where you do that. And it's a nice tribute to a lot of the MCs before you, man.
Word, shout
Um,
out to this Joe Kid for letting that fly.
yeah. Oh, good point. Good point. Hey, so a single that I really enjoyed was the Kapwa single, right? What was the motivation behind creating that song, Kapwa?
It's my first spoken word type of delivery.
Okay.
My boy YTC, yours to create, aka Ron Verbal. I used to play ball with him back in the days,
Okay.
and we went up to Canada one time, and he had a boombox, and he was playing a tape of him and his homies. But that was like in like 1999. So years later, we run into each other, and he's making Jay Dilla esque type beats, like very
Damn.
boom ad lib. You know, he's like in
Nice.
that brain of MF Doom. And the type of beats he made was like so like pure, like the purity of it. So I was like,
Yeah.
damn, man, I need something from you. So he sent me a whole bunch of beats, stuff that I haven't released.
Okay.
Stuff, and that one actually ended up coming out because it was just different. I felt like I wanted people to hear a more versatile delivery, something clean, something cultural. You know,
Yeah.
it was something that I needed to do as Bayani, or the
Nice.
direction I was going as a going from master of ceremony to cultural curator.
Yeah, and the lyrics too, man. Just man, it hit me hard too. So the specific line that got me was the tastes like lechon and garlic fried rice, adobo mix the stars and stripes, Filipino sun in America. And later on in the song, you say, "My ancestors' ghost write every flow I write," man. So just man, woo, man, just
Yeah,
experience and just our history, our lineage, and that determines what we experience, man. I love that, man. Really
yeah,
good
the
life.
ancestors been permeating, man. Like you'll hear
Yeah,
that word come out more in my rhymes. And it's part of, I think, decolonizing, as a
yeah.
Filipino, you start to realize like I do believe in God, but I also understand that there were ones creators before me, you know what I'm saying, that are the reason
Yeah,
why I'm here.
their
Like
story, man.
yeah.
That was a great track, man. And so most recently you had Revolt with Faith Santia, man. So let's
Yes.
talk about how that song came about. How did that happen?
So Faith has been part of like creating itineraries for me in California. She's been mad supportive for the Bayani comic book and pushing it into certain conversations and rooms, sharing it with a lot of her associates with Beat Rock,
Yep,
um, as well as Bolo Music Group with Ruby.
yep,
She's been like really helping me build up those relationships in the AAPI community on the West
yeah,
Coast, from LA to the Bay.
yep.
So she's been part of that movement for about 2 to 3 years, and
Okay,
I met her around like 2021.
okay.
She came out to New York for some work, and we just tapped in on a super respectful note. Like
Yeah, she's
I
good.
wasn't really aware of her catalog like that until
Yeah,
like, I actually met her, and then I was like, oh shit, like
yeah,
oh, is she really about that like energy
dude.
of
She's
community,
awesome.
community and culture. Um, so after tapping in with her, we built that friendship up, and I would like, go back and forth on stuff that I was writing with Bayani, or music. I would send her stuff to listen to. She would give me
Yeah.
feedback like, "Oh, I think this, that, and the third." So when I sent her Revolt, I think she revealed it in your interview, right? Where she was like, "Nah, not feeling that intro and outro." The word. I was
I
like,
didn't know if you were gonna mention it.
yeah, fact. I mean, and it's just necessary to be part of that story because if you run music through certain filters and you get real feedback, it
Yeah.
changes the dynamic of when you
Yes.
drop the record. Because it's like if I didn't get that feedback, I would have dropped the interview where I'll be saying intro or outro where I'll be saying something not as impactful as what she
That's right.
had said. Because when we had first spoke about it, it was like I have a different view on how to, support, you know, uh movements of, let's say, revolution. Because we're different in New York. We have a different energy than, how certain movements in California move.
Different
Filipinos are
ways. Yeah.
way
Different ways.
more
Yeah.
informed as well as educated and organized than, let's say, a hip hop MC in New York. I may
Sure.
not have been in those plugs. So when I say a certain thing, she'll give me that feedback where it's like, that's
Yeah.
not really representing the cause the way you should.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
it made me double back and be like, why don't you say something? Like I feel like maybe
yeah.
you have more of the qualifications to say something at that level than I
Right.
do. So we both agreed on it. Where because like when I take criticisms, like I really take the constructive aspects of it, even
That's
if someone
right.
says it's
Good.
whack. If somebody says like, nah, bro, that verse is whack. Like you should probably take that out and make it more universal than just about, one thing,
Yeah.
you know?
No, and
So
I appreciate that, man. Some people take criticism very hard, but it's refreshing to hear that you were able to take Fate's comments and feedback and just kind of adjust fire to create a better song. And so the song is amazing. I love it. It's a really really dope song. Would be dope if there's a music video associated with both of you someday. But
yeah,
yeah,
actually,
let's
we're
hear
gonna
it.
be working on that this year.
Break it.
So it's gonna be a blended type of video,
Okay.
using Revolt and one of my other records, Kismet.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so
Good.
Kismet is definitely one of the records I feel that could rock on radio. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? That could hit for certain palettes that
Yeah.
are not as in key with revolutionary rap. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
scares people sometimes. They scared of the revolution.
Yeah,
Um,
you just gotta, take it for what it is and appreciate it, man. And I like your styles together, man. And so in general, your delivery, I love like how you're able to. It has this like singing flow to it. I like it, man. And yeah, it's really dope, man. It just went really, really well together with Fate's piece, man. And so good track, man. Yeah, I look
yeah,
forward to
appreciate
the
that
video for
feedback,
it.
man.
Yeah. Hey, so let's go into top of the year. Or actually, I think you guys released it the end of last year, which was the and if I mispronounce it, I apologize. The safe video that you did with Digital Martyrs, my man Balance out in Cali, man. How did that happen, man? How did that come together?
Man, that was Kismet as well. Kismet
Mhm.
meaning fate, destiny. Um, he reached out to me off the arm of like wanting to be part of his mixtape,
Okay. Yep.
Balance mixtape,
That's right.
and he sent me a whole zip file of beats,
Yeah.
and first we wanted to get acquainted. Like that's how I like to work with people. I like
Okay.
to see if we align core values, if we align our tastes and community and who we rock with or what we do.
Yeah.
Um so like part of it was the Filipino aspect of being Muslim. I found that very
Yep.
interesting to actually build with someone that was Muslim. Uh
Yeah.
and Filipino. So, because the dynamic of the real Filipinos, like that are in the Philippines,
Yeah.
in
It's
the
not
southern
like that.
Philippines, it's not kosher. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not.
There's a lot of prejudice, a lot of discrimination. Um, uh, so it shows you, like how in America the relationships are very different.
Yeah.
The sentiment is very different in politics as well as the spiritualisms of both being a Christian and being Muslim.
Yeah.
So me and him really got acquainted and connected just off being Christian and Muslim, building on music, both being Filipino from East to West Coast, and he asked me, like, yo, pick these beats or send me acapellas. So I
Yeah.
sent him changes. He remixed changes, which was a single off the first Bayani soundtrack. Um,
Oh.
yeah, so changes. We dropped the whole video to it. Shot in San Francisco,
Yeah.
with apply pressure, um, visuals, and that was like a single in 2021. So when he remixed it, he gave it like a super OVO vibe.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was like a Filipino artist dropping off Drake's album or some shit. And it was smooth. It was like, oh, you
Yeah.
remind me of Sade. Like, so he just flexed on that remix.
It's really good.
Um, yeah, I was like, what? I was like, dope. He showed you the remix to that?
No, I heard that, but I just his just a video that he did, and he's actually good at remixing. So he'll do that with my stuff where I'll record a track, and then the beat is completely different, and I'm like, oh, dude, I didn't think it would ever come out like that way. And it's like 10 times better, man. So he's good like that, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it led to Saif. Saif was part of that beat pack.
Okay.
Saif means sword in Arabic.
Okay.
So around that time, I recorded it in like late October. So it was
Okay.
after the October 7th events had occurred.
Okay.
So after those events happened and the weeks kept going, I was like, damn, I just dropped Revolt. I was like, and my soul just ain't sitting right with what's happening across the world right now.
Yeah, and you
So I
felt
started
like you
doing
had
it.
to address it, right?
Yeah, I felt like, like if I'm supposed to reflect Jesus in any form in hip hop, right? If I'm a believer and I believe in healing through creating understanding and channeling knowledge, right? Even if the knowledge is so like general and so like available, some people will still be in denial to the facts. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're scared of having an opinion or standing for something. They want to play neutral, but you can't really be lukewarm. God don't like lukewarm. You know what I'm saying? He likes people that are fully in or you fully out. You either or. There's no middle ground when it comes to choosing God or the forces, you know what I'm saying, that are opposite of, you
Yeah,
know? So when you look at it, I felt like the division already comes with Muslims being Muslim, being in Palestine, like, and if I didn't say anything, I felt like, what am I really gonna say anyway? If I do start saying, dropping music, talking about like what I go through as a person, how
yeah,
important is that versus saying, yo, this is happening? I'm using the music to say this is happening. You know what I'm saying? Because what else are we really talking about in hip hop if we're not uniting with the ones being oppressed? This is a culture that comes from an oppressed people.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like Saif was just necessary to cut, you know what I'm saying, the bullshit. That's really what it was about.
Yeah, and I love just music in general, and I think you're right. Just it's an amazing catalog, or I'm sorry, a vehicle for delivering what you're feeling. So yeah, I can see all the messaging and what you're trying to convey, and so I love that you're able to use music to express that, and so really dope, man. And again, I'm a big fan of balance too, man, and so I'm glad that you guys hooked up. And again, I just
Um,
love I mean different pockets of communities hooking up to make music, which goes into what we did with Chrome. I'm excited and really happy that we all connected. Myself, you, Chrome, and Kali for a track. Really pumped to hear that song at some point when it gets out, but really cool.
Word, and it's going through some channels, right? It's going through some major channels. So I'm
I
like,
know.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, he's a master engineer, man, and he just his mind, man, just puts it all together, man. So it's great. So that's gonna be an exciting track, and then the lineup on that album, he's got it's bananas, man. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
actually looked at it, but there's some gods on that thing, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely some
Yeah,
veterans in the field in there.
yeah.
You
So
know?
that's great. So good, man. Well, hey, man, I'm glad again. I'm honored to have the opportunity to work with you, though. It was fun.
Word. To be on
And
the
so
actual song though is definitely, notable, and it's dope because I feel like you support the community. And I didn't even expect you to flip your verse the way you did. I was like, oh, he went in on
oh,
it. He conceptually embodied the lunar aspects in every way.
you
The
motivated it,
ceremony
man.
of it, right?
You motivated it, man. So that was all you. And man, hey, if I'm gonna rhyme with some guys like you guys, man, you got to bring the A game. So really dope, man. I love it, man. You guys brought that out, man, and everybody killed it, man. Woo.
Or true story.
Your hook. Oh shit, that was great.
Word, word, word.
Well, hey, man, you've been in the rap game for quite some time. You're still doing it, quite active, man. But what motivates you to do music? How do you find inspiration to still make music? Being a father and just working and man, how do you find time to do it?
Finding time is really just it's all we're put on this earth for is finding time to get
Yeah,
to the real work. I feel like society puts us in this space where we have to make money, pay bills, you know, uh, and as men, we just got to learn how to prioritize certain things.
yeah,
From your relationship to parenthood to the workplace to your actual, your goals,
Yeah.
and so I always feel like my mission's never over. I feel
Yeah.
like every week I still got something to do.
Sure.
And I think that's what really keeps me in a space where I could evolve with the generations coming in and out. Because I feel like I went through like 3 generations of hip hop without even
Yeah.
touching the mainstream yet, you know?
Okay.
And I feel like the mainstream isn't even mainstream no more. Like I feel
Yeah.
like they're just as starving as the guys that are making the music and still
Yeah.
trying to make it, you know?
Sure.
Uh but I feel like I'm not far. Like I feel like I'm 6 degrees always within,
Yeah.
fulfilling destiny. And I just move at God's pace. Um
Yeah.
I've
Hey,
I've
that's
learned
great.
to be humble as much as I could be hungry and even angry, hangry at some point as an MC, where I'm like, yo, no one's listening. Yo, I need more streams. Yo, I need this. Yo, I don't have enough money. Yo, I don't have enough time. Like, you really just come to a point where it's like, but maybe I wasn't supposed to be at that level, in
Sure.
that time of my life. Maybe I would have overindulged in things that I didn't need in my life, you know.
Yeah.
So God supplies you with what you're able to handle, you know what I'm saying? And so, once you learn to manage the little things, bigger things can happen for you.
Real quick, I wanted to go into your comic book, The Realest Bayani. I was really saddened to hear that it was motivated by the passing of your cousin, but
Thank you, man.
something came out of it. Amazing piece of work. But just real quick, man, can you just tell me quickly how that came about and how you got into it, and
I thought that's what
where
this
you're at
interview was
today?
going to be about, really.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I thought we was
really?
going to dive into Bayani, but we went
Oh
into.
man.
No, it's cool though because I feel like at the same time I've done so many interviews about it. Um, but
Yep.
like main key is it's a resurrection.
Okay.
It's a resurrection. Uh, um, I would say what would I call it? A resurrection ballad, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Through comics, the medium of comics, and learning how to bring back, the ancestors, people that passed, um, the visions of my imagination when I was younger, you
Okay.
know. So it's just a great love letter. This is what Patricio Janelsa of Lumpia with a Vengeance called it, a love letter to the motherland.
Oh.
um my cousin who became Bayani, Marlon Ramos, when he
Really.
transitioned in spirit into this comic book universe, like he transformed in a way where I could make his soul noble again, you know.
Yeah.
He has a son in the Philippines who I have yet to return to the motherland and share some of my values and my lessons,
Mhm.
and the things that have put me in the discourse of becoming a Filipino man, you know.
Okay.
I think being a Filipino American entails so much responsibility because you have to learn of the things that you've missed out on,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Growing up in America, but you're also bringing back the things that your parents have not taught you, and you've
Mhm.
learned to love without them teaching you to love it. You
Yeah.
know,
Sure.
we become so American at some point where some people don't care about their history. Some people
Yeah.
don't care about sharing their culture.
Gets
Because
lost.
we become so mixed, right? Like
Yeah.
my daughter is Puerto Rican, Jamaican with Chinese descent as well as Filipino. So now she
Okay.
has 4 strains of culture inside of her blood
Yeah.
that she's gonna either forget about because we don't get to share like our knowledge of it, or that she's gonna search for in herself in the
Sure.
future. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
that's why I feel like my mission's not over because I feel like I have so much to teach, you
Yeah.
know? And thankfully for the internet, everything we release on it is out there forever,
Yeah.
you know?
No kidding, man. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah. The work is not done, and man, I love everything about it, and just you tying your music. with the comic book and just very inspirational, man. All the work that you're doing, man, to spread the word, man. I enjoy it, man. And your artist too is badass. So yeah, shout out to him, man.
Yeah, definitely. Very Wong.
There you go, man. Yeah.
Well,
Well, hey, man. With that, what do you like to do for fun, man? When you're not doing comic books, family, and making music, man. What's on your fun list of things to do?
aside from make music, I mean, I really appreciate like movies. You know,
Okay.
like I'm a movie fan. Um,
Nice.
I love. I feel like that's all I do is read comics and music and be a
Dope.
dad. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm looking forward to really like diving into other cultures. So like
Okay.
I really do a lot of research, like self knowledge, self learning, self education,
Nice.
outside of Filipino stuff because the world is bigger than just the Philippines. You know.
All right, man. Let's go into the fun portion of the interview, man. Some random questions I like to throw at people at the end, man, just to close out on a
I'm
good note,
sweating. I'm
man.
like, oh man, am I gonna know these
Nah, not
answers?
at all, man. Funny. Hey, what is the most Filipino thing you do? Mannerism or just habit? What is that in you?
Every time I try to get my daughter's attention, I always be like, Shh, wait, Maya, what's up now, man?
Oh, that's good,
All my
man.
call outs is just like my mom's.
I still do that. Okay. Hey, so funny, man. I interviewed Kali yesterday, and I'm going. I told him the same thing, man. Same question for you because I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sell Girl Scout cookies with my kid after this interview. What is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Oh man, what was that one? It was the one with the coconut.
Samoas, huh?
Yeah, the Samoa. Yup.
They're the shit, man.
Word. Damn, man. And when I get the munchies, like, and when somebody says, "Yo, my daughter got these Girl Scout cookies, bro," I'm like, "Samoa's, please." And maybe
Yo,
some like one of those Donna Loon fucking
yeah, the
cookies.
shortbread cookies too.
Word. For my mom's for her
Oh
coffee.
man. Hey, that's funny, dude. All right, man. You said you're a movie buff, man. Best comedy movie of all time.
Oh man, what comedy movie would I say is the best of all time? Um, I don't know. Like I guess maybe generationally, I would be in like the super bad realm.
Oh, sure.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I
I
would say
like, which is a
that.
great movie. Yeah.
And then I also love Dumb and Dumber too. Like that was
Okay.
definitely one of my
Classic.
favorites growing up as a kid.
Yeah. So generation. Oh man. So yeah, you're right. Generations, man. So I'm right behind you. I'm a coming to America kind of guy. So
Right,
that just tells me I'm older than you, man. So all right, man. Hey, what is something interesting about you that is not widely known that might surprise people?
I'm obsessed with studying about fallen angels. You know,
Oh,
I'm definitely like somebody that was heavily into like my Christian faith, and I
yeah.
think, like knowing like about the fallen angels was so important in understanding government affairs and biblical history.
Okay.
So like that was just I love the Bible. I love reading.
Man. All right, man. If you had to choose, what are you choosing between waffles and pancakes?
I'm gonna have to say I do waffles.
Are you? Why's
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Just because like the syrup don't go nowhere, like it goes in those little recipes. So it's like it's sectional, It's like
Yeah.
it's controlled.
Yeah.
On the
It
pancakes, that
stays.
should be all over. I mean, pancakes back in the days, we didn't have a waffle maker back in the days. My dad would just make pancakes, like, "What, another one?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me get another one." Dad, he'll flip. He only had one arm, so he'll flip the pancake backwards and land in my plate. And I'm like, "Yo, my dad's the illest." He was like a
Oh, that's
Filipino Shaolin monk, bro, with pancakes.
oh. Oh, that's dope, man. Your parents sound awesome. All right, hey man, I'm sure they cook Filipino food. What's your favorite Filipino food?
Oh man, unstoppably, I would say lechon, the skin only.
Oh, skin only. Skin only.
I would like all the fat, you
Yeah,
know?
when it's
Even though the skin is the fat, right? But that crunchy, my
yeah.
My shorty just made some perni. So, that for
Oh.
Filipinos, I'm like, yo, take some of the skin off before you give it out.
Oh, good choice, man. All right. Hey, because I asked Faith this question, I'm going to ask you the same one. Spam or corned beef? And you have to justify your reason.
Damn. I would have to say spam, man, because it don't. It's never
Why?
dry. It's never dry. Once you fry that, it's sizzling. Like that oil is on it. Like when sometimes I would come home, I'll be like, "Mom, what you made?" She'll be like, "Corned beef." I'll be like, "Oh man, that's gonna be mad dry right now." But it depends. It depends on who's making it or what time of the day that corned
Yeah.
beef been, what I'm saying, chilling. So yeah, like that spam is always fried and crispy. I like it. I like it like that.
Okay. All right, man. Hey, comic book buff, Marvel or DC Comics?
It was Mark Marvel, bro. Is that even a
All the way.
question? That's what Mark Marvel.
Oh, that's right. MM.
Yeah,
I didn't even see that. That's
yeah.
cool.
Nobody ever asked why he don't have a B on him. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the tribute, man. All right, favorite comic series of all time. Let's go with Hero series.
I would say Daredevil,
Really?
Daredevil Shadowland.
Oh, okay.
That's
All
where
right.
he actually gets possessed by the devil,
Okay. Nice.
and he
All right.
runs the hand ninjas.
Yeah, this is surprising. Daredevil's not never usually my guy to go to, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I mean, that's where I get that whole Bayani street hero aspect.
Okay.
Of course, like I would have said, like if I go to my usual, it's always X-Men. Like I'm an X-Men fan to the
Yeah.
death.
Okay.
And I would say like even recently it would be like Dawn of X for X-Men.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
that's when everybody comes to Krakoa.
Okay. All right. Hey, who wins in a fight between Bayani and Batman?
I would say, damn, bro. I hate to say it that Batman would probably defeat Bayani. You know what I'm saying? But um, if there's no preparation, I would say Bayani would win.
All right, man. I like
You
that.
know?
Stand behind your dude, man.
Yeah, yeah, I would have to because I mean I don't think he ever fought somebody with Filipino martial arts skills. You know what I'm saying?
All
Like,
right, man.
he was like, oh shit, masakit.
All right, man. Hey, if there was a movie adaptation of The Realest Bayani, who would you cast as the lead male and the lead female? Because there's always got to be a love interest. Who's playing
Oh man.
Bayani?
I ran this on Instagram, like for people, and
Oh, okay.
the people chose Piolo Pascual
Oh,
as
shit.
Bayani. They chose
Okay.
Piolo Pascual.
Filipino
Um,
actor. Yep.
and Dong Dantes actually followed me because he was one of the nominees, Dong Dantes.
Oh, crazy.
But they chose Mika Javier
Oh, that's
as Jennifer. It's one of it's somebody I know that I did a music video with called Good Nights and the Misses.
Oh, man. Okay, wild. All
Yeah,
right,
it
man.
was between her and Vanessa Hudgens.
Oh, that would be cool too. That for some star
Yeah,
power,
that's who they
man.
chose.
I like it.
Um, yeah. So, but I like this dude Manny Jacinto.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
another
yeah,
about
you
Philippine.
look him up.
Not Manny Pacquiao, right? Manny.
Nah, 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 Manny Jacinto.
That's
Um,
all right.
he's low key.
No,
He's a
hey,
good dude, but he's type light skin. I really want to get the more tan guys. You know what I'm
yep,
saying?
yep.
Because he's in the field. He's a soldier, so he's definitely in the sun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love it, man. So hey, there was some thought into it. Great. Well, hey, man, what about special projects? Are there any special project that you want to talk to the people about real quick, or just give us a sneak peek?
Yeah, yeah. So right now, I'm about to drop March 25th the Bayani Comics tape. Uh,
Nice.
which is a slight combination of excerpts from the Bayani audio comic, as well as this is the second soundtrack.
Okay.
This one was more intentional. It's more coherent. And everything was uh prioritized and particularly made for this mix for this collection of songs.
I love
Um,
it, man.
yeah, so it soundtracks a lot of scenes from the
Okay.
comic book. So that's dropping three on March 25th, and
Okay.
we're shooting the music video around May, which involves the Revolt record with Faith Santia, as well
Yep.
as Kismet. So that's
Nice.
one thing going on. That Bayani comic tape is really going to be a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Digital release, or you pressing some hard copies?
so I'm still like thinking about whether or not I'm gonna upload it for streaming.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk with my whole team. I
Okay.
think we want to do something where um, we may make a hard copies
I
with
love.
the comic book. It
Woo.
might be, because I got to talk to Even Biz and see
Okay.
how we register with them. Because I do want to do that direct to fan kind of exchange.
Okay.
And once everything's all collected and ready, I want that exchange to be direct
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
going through streaming. I feel like streaming has robbed us blindly, for so many years. Like, I don't care if I had 250,000 streams and only get $100.
Mhm.
Like, that does not make sense to me.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
if we had 250,000 listens back in the days when people bought CDs,
Yeah.
what would that equal for us?
Woo, man.
Sold $10 CDs at 250,000, listens.
Nice. Yeah.
That would be a great come up, right? But what happened? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. And so, man, I love that idea of the comic book and tape. I hope that happens, man. And I can't wait to pick one up, man.
I went to Five Below and I saw this, right?
Oh, and did that kind of motivate the idea? That's pretty cool.
No, I didn't. It made the idea. It's been an idea, but I just saw the packaging, and I was just like, "Damn, look at this
Ah, yep, yep.
toy! Look at this comic. What if there was also like a QR
Mixtape.
code that
Yeah.
goes
Oh,
straight to the
cool.
website, where they could not just listen to the song, but it has to be access through purchase.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
figure at some point people could just scan QR codes at the store and not buy the product. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
That's
So it's
true.
like they would have to buy the product, open the comic book, register that they bought it, and then they have access to it.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
man. Well,
So
hey,
yeah,
man.
you just gotta have that system to filter, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
cheat codes.
Hey, I hope you guys flesh that out, man. That'd be cool. I'm always a fan of having the physical product.
Right.
And so, and so with that, hey, man, thank you for the opportunity to do a deep dive into who Bayani is, man. I love the music. I love everything that you're doing. I love the message that you're sending out to the community. I love the comic book. I love you as a family man and everything that you're doing and posting, man, and sharing on social media. The content is on point, and I look forward to the March 25 release and just continuing our friendship and just following your musical career, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Memphis.
Yeah, hey, I can't wait to get this interview out. But man, what is the best place to find your music, and who do you want to shout out before we close this amazing interview out?
Best place to find my music is on streaming services, Spotify or iTunes, Apple Music, YouTube. Look up Bayani, um, or The City Needs You, on YouTube. If you look up The City Needs You on YouTube, you'll find most of my music, freestyles, interviews, stuff of that nature. So Bayani, The City Needs You. Just look that up on YouTube. You'll find us. And shout out to my boy Savvy Designs. Savvy Designs is where you can find the comic book. Savvy Designs, SAVI, Designs with a S at the end, .NYC. Don't forget we from New York City. We the East Coast Avengers with a Filipino accent. Bayani!
I
You
love
know
it.
the tribe.
Yeah. Well, good deal, man. Well, hey, man, enjoy the rest of your weekend, man, and let's stay in touch, brother. Thank you.
All right, my brother Reigns. You know what it is.
All right.
Peace, King.